Okay, here we go.
Oh,
Now where we
I just in this group. You expect me to say something else? All right. If you would like to keep everything nailed down,
tie downs. We need those massive tie downs
Yeah.
you see on semis.
yes, and not in Nebraska, send money here.
Now the wind's out of the east, so
Oh, Amarillo again.
Yeah.
Coffee. If you like to drink coffee, talk to King Harves. Let him know you heard about it from us. If you need a sarcastic t-shirt, talk to this guy, tinyurl.com, Among the Leaves Tees, friend of ours. Let him know you hear about it from us.
He does have a special edition Fool's Con shirt right now, too.
yes, he does. And you want to tell him what you were snorting?
Coffee.
Which one?
Hang on.
I know it was a geisha blend, but there was more to it than that, I think.
Nope. El Salvador Geisha.
Nice.
Yes.
Yes, John, the color changes are immense when you get the cataract surgery.
Also, apparently, UV detection.
Yeah.
Because the lens of your eye screens out UV, but the cataract lens does not.
It gets a lot brighter.
Brighter, and you'll start seeing just into the edge of the UV range.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which makes things interesting sometimes.
I am sure it does. As an artist, I don't know that I'd like that.
No,
Yeah.
apparently it can really screw up your.
Yeah. I know. I just recently flipped over and started using a new monitor. And I can't do art on that monitor. It does weird things.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to adjust the color or what, but I'm like, I can't do the art on this. It has to go in the other monitor.
Oh, Rick, that was hilarious. I saw that this morning and I about died laughing.
The comment was, how would you rate the troll naming the next carrier of the USS Musk? It is April Fool's Day,
Yeah.
and the trolling has been epic.
Yes.
Eh.
I still, the sheriff's office
Yeah.
that was going to start a gunsmithing school for the inmates so they could have something to do.
I was telling them that when I in 93, 96, the Potter County Sheriff's Office range in Amarillo was the center of gun training for law enforcement in the Panhandle. That's where everybody went. It was a lovely range. They used reloads, and because it was cheaper. And the first time I was there, watching inmates sweep up brass and head back to the reloading station, I about lost my cupcakes. It's like, you chill. No, the hell.
Oh yeah, Rick, that was the other one. USS Constitution be retired because wooden ships aren't fit for the purposes today. Yeah, that one will probably set a few people off. Yay, Dagamore, good to see you. The winds, yes, they be blowing here today.
No kidding.
I saw the study this morning that said North Texas is actually windier than Oklahoma.
Don't tell Sanford that.
Yeah. Because the wind has to get through us before it gets to Oklahoma.
Well, in certain directions.
Yeah. Well, other than the going north, pretty much every direction.
Dagamore. The
Yeah.
reason the wind blows Texas is because Oklahoma sucks. I wasn't going to go there, but thank you for.
Yeah, Richard, mass climbing is considered an OSHA violation. Actually, it is.
It doesn't surprise me.
And the Navy went, F you, we're going to do it anyway, because that's our history.
Does
Yeah.
OSHA actually apply to the military?
No.
I don't think it did.
I used to wonder why women in Texas always looked like they were wearing helmets
Yeah.
with so much hairspray.
Yeah.
And now that I'm here, I completely understand it because it's the only way your hair is staying with this wind. So
She's not wrong.
Either that or you wrap it up or cut it so short.
When years ago, actually before this move even happened, Sanford and I had talked through pretty much all the states, and he had a list of states that he did not want to move to. One of them was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So he will complain to this day that I moved him to basically Oklahoma.
Tell him he better be lucky he didn't. There's an even chance that it would have been Amarillo or Corpus Christi. So,
Well, no, because actually he told me that the Houston area was off limits too. He did not want to mold if he stood still for too long.
Yes, Houston, Galveston, yes.
Yes,
because
having visited Houston a couple of times, yes.
the I could have been working at Randall County or Nueces County, which is Amarillo Canyon or Corpus Christi. And then that Rita would have moved there, and then Rita would start collecting people, and he could have wound up in Corpus. So he needs to chill.
No, I would not have ended up in Corpus. I know about Corpus. We do have some interesting news today. We've got
We do?
2 books to announce. Cedar has a new one out.
Yes, I do.
Oh, somebody's writing again.
Well, okay. So my last day of the day job was Thursday, March 27th. And I had not been writing very much this month because I have been incredibly busy with trying to job hunt, wrap up the day job with a neat bow to be able to hand it back to my former boss because I like her and I didn't want to leave her in the lurch.
Yeah.
And just the usual rack press stuff and life and whatnot. So Thursday night, we're driving down to Dallas because we had a medical thing incredibly early Friday morning. And I said to Sanford, I wonder if I could manage to pull together a collection of short stories to actually get something published in March. Because my goal for this year was to publish something every month.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it, and we talked about the fact that I wanted to write some fresh material to put into this anthology. I wanted to write about 10,000 words of fresh material. So I wrote over the course of the weekend on Friday and then on Sunday, I wrote a 3,000 word short story and a 7,000 word short story, bundled those together with 11 other short stories ranging in length from 300 words to 9,000 words. So, and put 13 cozy short stories in A Garden of Stars, which is a collection of warm, fuzzy science fiction, fantasy. It's basically my cozy stories.
Yeah, and they're outstanding.
Thank you. I had fun writing the two, like sit down and just hammer the keyboard until the story comes out of me. And it's been so long since I've been able to do that. That was just like, that was really fun. I want to do it again.
No, Richard, no packages arrived.
Oh dear. Packages from Richard.
I get worried.
That's a whole special thing itself.
Oh, I would like to thank those who finally gave me enough reviews to get the short stories over the first unicorn hump of 50.
Oh,
good.
wow. Yay.
Yeah.
And we have a new book by a friend of mine, Ben English.
Oh, Ben's got a new one.
Yeah,
Nice.
Ben's got a new one out in the Templar Family series that he's writing called Sisterios.
Cristeros. Oh.
And it's the Templar Family version 1.0. So this one goes back to early Chihuahua and the Texas early days. And it takes place, as usual, with Ben down in the Big Bend area.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with Louis L'Amour, if Ben says something is there on the ground,
it's there.
It's there because he's seen it. That man knows more about the Big Bend area than most of the scientists who so-called study it.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's walked that ground more than once.
We slept on that ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's always a really good thing. A couple of people recently in totally different places on the internet have talked about reading Louis L'Amour for the first time.
What?
It is a thing. There are people in this world who make it to adulthood without having ever read L'Amour. And
mind.
the reaction from both of them, very different backgrounds from ours. The reaction from both of them was basically to the effect of, these are really compelling stories, but man, they have a lot of plot holes. If you binge read any author, you start to see the bones under the story.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And
His bones are pretty close to the surface.
well, and that was the other comment, was one of them had said that they felt to her more like outlines.
Yeah.
She wanted
Really?
more flesh on the bones.
Yeah.
And I understand it, and I know what her writing style is, so it makes perfect sense to me to hear that from her.
Yeah.
But it is actually one of the reasons I think L'Amour is such an enduring classic, especially for men, is that he doesn't fluff his stories. There's
It's
no
40 to
fluff.
50,000 words.
He pares the fat off.
Yeah.
And
If you want a little more fleshed out, The Walking Drum
mhm.
Yeah.
and
Some of
Last of the Breed,
Last
Yeah.
of the Breed, although it doesn't have an ending, which makes me sad.
which annoys the crap out of me.
Right.
Well, it
he
was
obviously
supposed to be a multiple book series.
Right, I was going to say he set it up to be at
Yeah.
least 2 books.
Yeah.
And then he passed away. Now, if there was ever a book I could write fan fiction for, that might be it.
Yeah.
But-
Walking Drum is just that is full of crunchy goodness. It
Yeah.
really is. He did a hell of a lot of research for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Walking Drum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that's, I mean, again, with an author that has done the research, and if he says it was there, then it was there.
Yeah.
There's a dumpster in this alley behind this.
Maybe not that, but
Oh no.
If there had been people back then with that access, yes, they would have checked him.
yes.
I have no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there used to be a society, a club,
Yeah.
society, back pre-internet. Kids, go ask your parents. That of people that it was basically what is it when geocaching?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would instead this is pre-geocaching, they would pick a novel
Yep.
or one of his books for that quarter of the year, and everybody would try to go to as many locations as they could in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal there in the 80s and 90s.
That sounds like a really fun project. I
Yeah.
mean, just in general.
Well, just in his house, he had over 5,000 books.
Mhm.
Oh,
His
I'm
total-
working on it.
total reference library was over 15,000.
I need another building if I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's what he had.
I'm looking at a whole bunch of
Bookshelves.
bookshelves
But
we
those aren't
acquired.
mine.
We acquired from an author that had a extensive research library.
No,
Yeah.
what he had, this is Larry McMurtry in Archer City. And they've reopened one building. He had 4 buildings that he was running a bookstore out of all of those buildings.
Because it was a tax write-off.
I mean, I'm sure that a lot of those were his research books
Yeah.
and stuff, but I've been in them and looked at the stacks, and
Yeah.
he didn't need 8 volumes of some pulp novel. And there's also, I don't know how many languages the man read.
Yeah.
He-
More than 2.
well, I'm sure more than 2, but there was an awful lot of foreign language books in at least a half a dozen languages that I saw.
Yeah.
And I don't know that some of those, given that I was in them with a friend who might or might not be in the chat, and he was translating
Hey,
things.
Tom, where are you?
But it's things like the Encyclopedia of Electrical Engineering, and I can't think he needed an entire Encyclopedia of Electrical Engineering in Russian for a book research. I
Might
mean, I
be
could be
surprised.
wrong.
I
But
beg to differ.
Yeah.
Somewhere I have the complete hydrology of Morocco because I needed to research the Tanger Med.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and in the days before internet, and McMurtry was certainly before internet.
Yeah.
Other
Thank
McMurtry
you.
not related to
Oh,
you.
okay.
Third cousin.
He
twice
was
removed.
he was your elder by a good number of years, sir.
After the gym today, I'm not sure it's that many years.
But you had to have at least access to a lot of books, and even then, you couldn't be sure to find the information that you
Oh,
wanted.
there's this lovely picture making the rounds on the internet, and it's actually true, and it's very Art Deco, but it's a wall of card catalog, and by wall I mean it's about 3 stories tall, and there are these gentlemen in these little round end rectangles with chairs, and they move up and down and forward. I'm not sure where it is, but it's a complete card catalog, and they had like 5 guys sitting in these chairs that moved up and sideways to get the proper card catalog.
That would be really cool.
That would be a dream job back then.
Yes.
Polite way to see Ian's older than dirt.
At least today it feels it.
Well, the thing is that research librarian. So when I was a librarian about 13 years ago now, my boss at the time, I was talking about going back to school, and he had a master's of library science, which now is master's of library and information science. But he was encouraging me not to pursue that as a degree because librarian jobs at the time they seemed to be going the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay very much. I mean, you could have your master's degree and be making $35,000 running a tiny little public library, which is difficult to make ends meet with.
Yeah.
So I agreed with him that he was right about not pursuing a master's, because at the time I knew I wasn't going to have the time or the money to do that much school.
Yeah.
However, research librarian, I think, has actually swung around into being more relevant now than ever. Not because you can't find information.
There's so much of it.
Yes.
And you have to have, and I hate to say it, but the average American needs somebody to pick the jewels from the dross.
Yeah.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Well, Rick says back when reference librarian was a goddess, they could find almost anything, and it's gotten worse rather than better today.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I do not regret having gone for that Master's of Information Science. However, I do wish that I had a way to do the reference librarian thing now, because I can find what I want usually.
Well, now it's
and
become,
verify.
as Doug said, it's now become data mining.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Data analysis.
There's so much dross and fluff that picking the jewels out really requires specialized.
Yeah.
Somebody that's not Gen Z.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, as
read.
I'm job hunting and looking at what's out there, there's actually a couple of different job descriptions that I've seen that are basically someone that can act as a go-between between an AI and the company that's using it to make sure that the AI isn't bullshitting them.
Yeah.
So, and that's also a necessary role in this day and age.
More and more necessary.
So, yeah.
I've read some of the AI.
It hallucinates. It makes
boy,
crap
you're not
up.
kidding.
And it makes some really weird crap up. I mean, the hallucinations
Dear Google, your AI is schizophrenic. No love, me.
Dear Google, your AI has consumed far more LSD than is good for it.
Padre, your wife has potentially got a lot of work she can do from home if she knows how to do data mining. His wife has a MLIS.
Yeah. And it's not that I mean, my boss back then was trying to push me away from it because he was worried about me being able to support a family on it. And he wasn't wrong, but also couldn't have foreseen what was coming of this. And some of that, too, had to do with where we were located in rural New England.
Rita had a choice between Master of Library Science and Master of English when she decided on master's program.
Rita would be amazing as a librarian.
I thought she would. That way I could go and get overdue library books.
Nuke Warrior says Google nuclear power and Amazon will try to sell you a power plant.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, I wish. Wouldn't that be a lovely little
Small pebble bed.
Yes.
That would work.
I could go for that.
I stirred some shit up yesterday afternoon when I went down.
No. Jim, stirring shit up. Who the
I went
fuck?
down to one of our local fine eating establishments,
Oh, God.
sandwich shop, and I'm sitting there waiting on my sandwich. And there are 4 young males sitting at the table next to me.
This never goes right.
It's obvious 2 of them are not from the United States because they're all wearing soccer
Oh, right.
Tops.
Yes.
Yellow word.
and
With
they
yellow
are
belly.
conversing in rather loudly. And one of them is talking to the other one about the TikToker that talks about shooting
Oh, God. Oh, God.
the Customs and Border Patrol guys,
What?
and how he didn't see anything wrong with that. And when I heard that, it was like, oh. And I just leaned over because it was about from me to Cedar, from my table to theirs. And I said, so if what you say is true, can I then start shooting anybody that has an MS-13 tattoo or a TDA tattoo?
I thought that was already. I thought it was already hunting season. Those
Yeah.
idiots.
Or can I shoot anybody wearing a Palestine cafe?
Kafaya. Don't tempt me.
Uh-huh.
There.
Well, why would you want to do that? I said,
Babies.
if you're going to shoot DEA agents, why can't I shoot perceived criminals?
Also, shooting at Border Patrol
Yeah.
gets you visits from Bortac.
Yeah.
And Bortac doesn't play games.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Ron Coburn started Bortac. He makes Homan look like a smiling child.
Bortac, the Border Patrol
Yeah.
tactical team, the Border Patrol tactical team, aka Bortac,
Yeah.
is the top in their business.
Yeah.
And these days, their business is good.
Very good.
They are, and those guys.
But
Border Patrol's never screwed around. And
no.
Bortac takes that another level.
Yeah. But I told him, I said, you need to stop believing the 30-second
The
sound
bullshit.
bites
The bullshit.
and start doing research. I said, because I'm going to guarantee you, none of you here understands a damn thing about what's going on.
No, hell no.
For one,
They don't want to understand you.
no. I said, when CBP or U.S. Marshals show up, they're not concealing themselves. They're in full tactical loadout. They have placards front and back on their jackets to
And
say who they are.
Every video I see red and blue lights bouncing off
Yep.
everything.
So no, they're not sneaking up on people.
They don't have to sneak up on
Yeah.
people.
And one guy, I'm not going to say what country I think he was from, but he kind of tried to bow up, and he says, "Well, what if I threaten you?" I said, "If you do,
Dude, you're in Texas. Knock it the fuck
I'll
off.
go home tonight. You won't."
Texas. Knock it off.
And he kind of looked at me, and his buddy, who was an American, went, well, "Let's go, guys." And they went out the door, and I hear this voice behind me says, "I had your back there, boy." And I look around, there's 2 other old veterans, both with 101st hats on. Of course, I might have been wearing my Vietnam veteran one, so they don't understand. They do not realize that what they see going on in New York, New Jersey, Boston, and all that crap doesn't play in Texas. It doesn't play in the red states, period.
It's one of the things that blows people's mind. After I did my SAP post, people were asking me, "Well, SAPs are illegal
No,
or
they're
unlawful." No, not in Texas, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know about other places, but they're completely lawful in Texas. What? You can
Yeah.
carry a SAP in Texas? Yes. Morons.
Yeah, Rick. Next time ICE goes into a sanctuary city, they should start by collecting mayor, city council, and most of the judges. Yep.
I'm currently doing a series on beatdowns.
Yeah.
And the last one will be tomorrow, and then I think I'll stop with attack stuff for a
Yeah.
while. I'm not getting a whole lot of engagement off of these.
Well, they
I
don't
really
understand.
like the story that you told.
No,
That was lovely.
about Eddie.
I may have to work up a recipe for a pecan cobbler now.
Oh, I wish she wouldn't tell anybody. That was, woo. Ms. Lucille had the best pecan cobbler. Never had it anywhere else.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
I've
know-
never heard of it.
I don't know that and she got a Monroe peach orchard.
Yeah.
And the Monroes would give her peaches cheap because it was
Yeah.
Ms. Lucille. And Monroe up in Panhandle had these gigantic peach orchards, and they
Yeah.
are some of the best peaches. And she would make homemade peach ice cream.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Mm.
I miss that. We used to make that in the summers,
Ah.
and us kids had to crank the damn thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She had any number of grandkids, great grandkids that
Yeah.
developed hella biceps cranking
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We had 4 down at the old family place, and all 4 of them would get used at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and there were never any seconds because there was never any left.
Well, this was over
they
in the
don't make a
flats.
lot.
in the Panhandle, or in most parts of Texas, subcultures tend to form enclaves, and this was the African American enclave, and Ms. Lucille was the glue that held that little community together.
Yep.
She really was. And that silly little bastard. Oh my God.
Yes, Dagamore, cranking the ice cream maker, and your break was to make sure that the salt and ice was full.
Yeah.
And it was a good couple hours, especially in South Louisiana in the middle of the summer.
Oh,
Mom gave me a hand crank one and an electric powered one, roughly same size
Yeah.
and shape. And they didn't make the move down to Texas because I knew I wasn't going to have. Well, the hand cranked one.
You
I
what?
didn't-
You left them? How could you?
I had at the time. I had a little countertop one, and the kids. I knew I wasn't going to have the kid power to crank the hand cranked one, and I wasn't doing it.
yeah.
I should have kept the electric one.
So
You
But
think?
if you've
Yeah.
never had to crank a hand cranked ice cream maker,
it is definitely something to farm off to the kids and the teenagers.
And if you were the one doing the cranking, you was owed licking the little paddles.
Yep.
That was your treat for cranking that damn thing, was licking the paddles.
Yeah, but when
Yeah.
it took 6 of you to get it cold enough,
Right.
I actually thought about getting one of those. I forget what they're called now. Creamy things that you froze the cup and then you'd stick it on the machine. And it
Oh,
would.
here at the thingy at the 369.
yogurt, yeah.
No. This is a countertop machine. It's an appliance, but they were not cheap, and so I decided that I wasn't going to do that. But I might
Yeah.
get a another electric ice cream maker because
CC says she's got a creamy. That's what they were called.
Oh, that's yeah. Sanford likes old-fashioned custard ice cream, and
Oh.
it's not easy to find that.
No.
So,
You
and I have
haven't been
made
to
it
Freddy's
for
Steak
him.
Burger on Caulfield.
Mm-mm.
Freddy's Steak Burger. Freddy's Steak Burger on Caulfield has
Okay,
yogurt ice cream.
cool.
Yeah.
Not yogurt. It has to be custard.
I mean custard.
yeah.
My bad. Custard. ice
So,
cream.
no, because
Brian, pecan cobbler is basically a version of a pecan pie.
but with
Yeah.
a fluffier crust, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Yeah.
It was so very good. It was so very good.
We-
For those-
Pecans are in it instead of being on top
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
All through it.
yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar, on Substack, I was putting together posts about beatdowns, and I was remembering a story back on about educational beatdowns. I was using an example, and this story just kind of fucking took off. So
It's a really good story. You should go read it.
Yes.
Also, the beatdown stories, for those of you that are authors, you should definitely go take a look at
Oh.
that, because there's some really educational stuff in there about
Mhm.
motivations and situations that you can put a character into.
oh yeah, now, wish I'd thought of that. Being a publisher and all, I wish I'd thought of that.
Well,
Good thing I have you.
for you, because see, that's not, I mean, first of all, I'm a girl. And as you pointed out in the beatdowns, these things don't usually happen to women. Women have other weapons that they use in different ways.
I'd rather the beat down most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not wrong, but
Well, there's a reason we keep our hair short.
that too. But so from a female perspective to be able to go and look at um, the information that's there, because it's a very different mindset.
Yeah.
And you lived with this. For you, this is practical knowledge that you needed to be conscious of before you walked into a situation. And I don't have that background of, I didn't put myself into those situations because it's unwise when you are female.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
It's unwise when you are a small female.
Fun. I was a lot younger. It was fun.
Right. And that's the other thing too, is that, and not that I wouldn't have necessarily found it fun, but the situations I put myself in were more search and rescue, wilderness survival training, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, where I was doing stupid shit in stupid places, but there generally weren't people around.
Yeah. Different adrenaline high.
Oh yes.
And the weird thing, something that people are popping up in the comments with of the Substack with, examples. Educational beatdowns that's a fact of life in 80% of the world.
Well, and I think we actually may miss something by having discouraged it as strongly as we have among the younger generations. It's part of the coddling
Well,
that has been going on.
but what you've also got to look at is the anonymity that the internet gives those people.
Well, and
Whereas
that's-
they would have gotten a
right.
educational beatdown 20 years ago.
That is a good point too. But even more so, just even in person, the epidemic of bullying that we see
Yeah.
going on in schools is running rampant and unchecked and leading to the suicide of very shockingly young children.
Yeah.
Status beatdowns.
Because there's nobody to beat up on the bullies.
Yeah.
Whether it's the kid themselves or it's somebody else defending the kid.
Well, not only that, the school will not penalize the bully.
Or-
They'll penalize.
They'll penalize the kid for
They'll
fighting
penalize
back.
the kid
Yeah.
for fighting back. It's reversed, it's wrong, and
Yeah.
it's part of the reason that we have such a high death rate among kids.
One of the reasons.
It's part of the reason, I
Mhm.
think, because there's so much bullying. Just my
There's
son,
always been bullying.
Yeah.
there always has been
But there's always been,
pushback.
a break on it.
Yeah. My son had to go to a funeral of one of his friends when he was 12.
Yeah.
Because the kid took his own life.
Yeah.
Because
don't
he was being
remember.
bullied.
As a child, I don't remember suicide being discussed involving children ever.
Yeah. And I just saw an article just this week of a 10-year-old girl
Yeah.
who took her life. And first of all, there's one of the other factors for the suicide, I hesitate to call it epidemic, but
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a better word for it, is actually all of the anti-suicide stuff, because it puts it in the kids' heads
Yeah.
that this is something I can do.
Oh,
Well, and the military, we're losing 22 a day.
Well, and in the age of the phone and the internet, you can't ever get away from having been stupid when you were 12.
no
Exactly.
kidding.
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah. So you
I
think,
am
oh,
so
this
thankful.
is the end of my life, and you have this thing that's attached to you and you can never get rid of. And
I'm
it
so
feels
glad I was
Yeah.
in my 30s before. Yeah, we'll say 30s.
I burned so many negatives.
Yeah.
Before phones with cameras became ubiquitous.
Yeah. And Kenton and Rick both make good points. Now, much of the bullying is endorsed and encouraged by the staff because it supports certain ideological initiatives and
Yes.
narratives.
Yes.
And then Rick says, but social media gangs up make the bullying worse. You can't hide from them on social media.
Yes.
Don't get on social. Keep your kids off social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, Rick, there were only film cameras back then, and not
Yep.
many of them.
Yep.
And film is expensive, and so is developing.
Yeah.
So it kept it down to a dull roar.
Because I did some stupid shit as a child, and
Well-
a young adult.
And the other thing too,
Something which was sanctioned.
Well, I had a guy try to bully me in the 8th and 9th grade, and he was bigger than I was, and I got my share of beat downs. I got a tooth knocked out, but I was dumb enough or hard-headed enough that I kept going back and fighting him.
mm-hmm.
And I fought him off and on probably for a year.
Something about breeding true. Or
Till he finally gave up because
Mhm.
I wouldn't quit. I'd keep coming back.
Yeah.
He'd beat me down. I'd get up. I'd come back at him again.
Yeah.
I was raised by a whole pack of uncles without children of their own that keep chin down, bite down, throw down.
Yeah.
This is how you remove a sentry. I'm 12. You need to know this. All right.
Yeah. And which brings me to something else kind of in a weird way. We're talking about bullying. We're talking about the beatdowns, which is usually male on male, the utter viciousness of the female on female thing.
Oh yeah.
But the predatory tactics of the male and the female, it reminded me of a quote that I had pulled out of an Agatha Christie I was reading, and it's Mr. Vivian Dubois had that rather forced masculinity, which is, in reality, nothing of the kind. He was the type of the man who understands women.
Yeah.
And it's what at the time the character in the book is what at the time was being called a gigolo.
Yeah.
Who is in reality a parasite, or as a friend of mine when I shared this says, male ally has always been a clue for predator.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the thing that is really difficult for a woman to, or for a girl, I should say, for a girl to discern, is the fact that the man who understands her is trying to get something.
Yeah. Anybody that says they understand women is flat fucking lying.
Any male.
Yeah.
I understand women.
Hell, I don't understand myself some days.
You understand women.
Single track versus
But I mean,
Atomic Yard.
This is Agatha Christie writing in the 1940s, 50s, sometime in that. It has not changed.
Universal truths
Yes.
stay universal.
And that's the thing about writing, and why I said the beatdown articles are good for a writer to go look at, because these are the things that have been going on through time immemorial. I mean, we now know from certain archaeological artifacts that people will complain about shady vendors.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The copper.
The copper, yes.
Ian Nasir.
Little boys will complain about their homework. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
There's
believe it.
They found, I forget what it was, but it's a little boy in ancient Russia from like 700 AD who doodled in the sides of his homework about how much he hated homework and he wanted to be out hunting. Or
there's the Imperial
it
War
is the
Museum.
Cutest thing.
Imperial War Museum in London has a collection, a small collection of papyrus scrolls from young men would travel from outlying
Villages.
No, territories.
Okay.
That's not the word I'm looking for, but territories.
Satrapies?
To Rome when they joined the Roman legions.
Yeah.
And when they got there, they would pay somebody. They would hand somebody a coin to write a letter home to dad.
Yes.
And then when they graduated and were being sent, they would write another one. And, you could track. And the second one was they always bitched about the food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every time they bitched about the food. It's like, whoo!
Nothing has changed.
3,000 years and nothing changes.
Yeah.
And the other one that's hilarious is of the small sampling that we have left of records, be they baked into clay or papyrus or medieval manuscripts, we only have a tiny fragment of what was originally created. And the percentage of those that have cat paw prints in it.
Yes. I giggled my butt off. I got to look at one of the original Book of Kells.
Yeah.
Which is an Irish genealogical survey. And it's all hand done by monks.
Yeah.
And in
fabulously illustrated.
Oh yeah. And in a corner you can see where somebody's tried to scrub off these little paw prints and they've tried to sand it off.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you've heard about 23andMe going under.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently everybody's worried sick about losing their genetic or having their genetic information.
Oh, it's already gone. I mean, honestly.
I think
Well,
They
what
guys,
they're
sold
more
that as an
worried about-
asset.
you're kind of closing the barn door after the horse went away 2 weeks ago.
But what they're more worried about is the criminals are more worried about that database now becoming
Public
accessible
domain. Yeah.
as a public database.
Yeah.
Yeah, they needed the cats to control the mice that would try to eat the vellum.
The
Yeah,
vellum
Oh, yeah.
and the ink, everything.
Because it's animal hide.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, toast. I didn't order. I had in the house a bag of bone meal. I was going to take it out to the garden. It's fertilizer.
Yeah.
And bone meal is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Ground bone.
I was going to get blood meal at the same time and they were out. So I just had the bone meal. And
Toast got into it.
Toast got into it. She chewed through the bag. And I have had that issue in the past. I have to keep it in a metal can outside because things get into it.
Yeah.
I generally try to only buy as much as I need scattered on the garden and then water it so
Yeah,
that it's
quickly.
Speaking of
Yes.
cats,
Yeah.
Speaking of cats, Rita is reading for Moggy Noir 3.
yes.
3.
Derringers and dames.
And she's found some absolute stories she's absolutely besotted with. However, I got to listen at length about how if you put out a call for stories using the word moggies, there should be an actual cat of some kind in there somewhere.
I think sometimes people don't know what moggy is. But if you have go and read the open call, it
Yes, it's very specific.
Yeah.
There's one, the only cat in the whole story is in the title.
Is there a metaphorical cat? I mean,
That's no worse than some of the cowboy stories.
right. We've definitely seen some stories that were obviously had the serial number scrubbed off and sent to us because we were an open call, not because the story fit.
Yeah.
Cursing in that lovely little operatic soprano takes on a whole new dimension.
Because it goes up in frequency.
Woo! If you're an unknown author and you submitted a story to a Moggy anthology where the only Moggy was in the title,
Yeah.
and you're feeling stabbing pains, it'll go away.
Best mouser I ever saw was a Cocker Spaniel mix.
Oh yeah.
Oh no,
Oh, yeah.
a little rat terrier is the perfect thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why my mom keeps her little rat terrier.
They were called rat terriers for a
For a
reason.
reason.
Yep.
Well, they're small enough to go down the rat hole.
The best ratter that I ever had was a half Chihuahua, half poodle,
Yeah.
half miniature poodle.
Mhm.
And that little dog was death on rats and mice.
Yep. She probably had some German Shepherd in her. She had some markings like that. My first dog, Murphy, we would head the hay,
Yeah.
which is turning it so it can dry on the other side, and the mice would be jumping out of it in all directions.
Oh, yeah.
And Murph would be following the tedder and snap, snap, snap,
Mhm.
snap, and she would be round.
Yeah.
She was not a pudgy dog. She was fairly lean, but her belly would be round, and she would go and sleep for like a day
Yeah.
to digest all those mice.
The praline, Rita's little Parson Russell Terrier.
Yeah.
14 pounds of, oh my God, go.
Yeah.
And getting into a thing of rats was her happy place.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they bred for.
Yeah.
I mean, in the days of
Yeah.
a lot less cleanliness, a lot more horse poo, a lot more agriculture.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you could have cats, but you really needed something to go after the big stuff that
Yeah.
the cats would not be able to tackle.
Steve Sky brings up a good point. The Right Back Home reminds us of the Terry Pratchett, where the newspaper men would create letters for the dwarves to send back home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lovely movie that had Michael J. Fox in it. And I forget, he was a surgeon on his way somewhere, broke down, and to pay off his repair bills, he became the general practitioner for a small town.
Yeah.
And there's this scene in there that's absolutely adorable, where he walks in the waiting room and there's this family, and they're sitting there looking at him, and he says, well, "Come on!" They're in the examination room, and he's asking what's wrong, and they're looking at him. He finally says, "What's wrong?" And they hand him a letter. He says, "What's this?" And then it's they're illiterate, and somebody sent, so the doctor would read the letter to them. And there
Ah.
are certain scenes throughout this movie where he's getting involved. He's like, no, what happened to Janet? Cousin Janet, what happened to Janet?
Oh, that sounds like fun. I may have to find
Doc
that.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Rick. The opening of The Truth. Yes. Terry Pratchett's The Truth.
Yes. Yes. Pratchett undoubtedly knew about this. The man
Oh, God,
was
yes.
Yeah.
amazing. Speaking of becoming a small town physician, there's a guy that does little short videos, glaucoma flecking,
Oh God.
and he
His
does
rural-
the
his-
rural medicine, and
rural
he is
ER.
so spot on.
Oh, him, and there's two nurses that do rural ER.
Yeah.
And it's one that's always wearing a hat and a brunette.
Yeah.
And they're playing nurses in a rural ER. And oh my God, not only they're funny, they're truthful.
I'll have to look up that one. I haven't
War
seen
Hamsters,
those.
another one.
War
Oh,
Hamster
War
is
Hamsters.
great, but that's more the medical.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
military. She's military medical.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But
every
she
time
ain't wrong.
No,
No,
she's
she's
not.
not.
And I'm listening to her and face palming because I'm like, yep, I can see that one.
But glaucoma fog, he does his best ones are the rural doctor.
Yeah.
And he's playing this doctor out about 100 miles past the edge and beyond.
Yeah.
With
Tex-
Texaco Mike,
Texaco Mike.
gas station, MRI machine, and I don't know what all.
An observatory.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
and the observatory. Must forget. the
And he
observatory.
does this one in character about a young newbie comes in and says,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got a farmer out here." He said, "Oh, his wife did his
wife make him come in?
No.
No.
And he freezes. What?
Get out the
Bam,
crash car.
bam, Mary, get the crash sack.
Yeah.
He was out fencing and his back hurt. Did he finish the,
The
fence?
Yes.
No.
No, it's going down.
No, Richard, I'm not going to try to write an 1820s turkey drive story. No. Not a 1920s one
And-
either.
The thing is, I've being a rural cop, I've dealt with a lot of rural hospitals. And God's honest truth, I prefer most everything. I prefer the rural hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you got a better chance of survival, first of all.
Well, for your average,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's in
Because
Electra.
they've seen stuff that
Oh yeah. Well, in Electra, United Regional is the big medical center here, and most of the times I've been hospitalized over the last way too long. I will just leave me in Electra.
Yeah.
Well, you need to go to United Regional. No, leave me in Electra. One, they know me. They do. They know me. The nurses that check on me, I probably went to school with or with their kids. Two, the food coming in their kitchen, I know the little old lady that runs their kitchen with an iron hand.
Yeah.
The food is good. And the care, just to me, when they know you, the care is better. I won't say anonymous, but you're one more face among,
Yeah.
thousands that year at United Regional.
I have to say, United Regional did us good when I went
Oh,
in
yeah.
there with Sanford having a heart attack.
For cardiac stuff,
we hit
United
we hit the door and that nurse knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I spent a good chunk of my childhood in Tok, Alaska, and at the time there was no doctor in Tok.
Yeah.
We had a physician's assistant, and if you needed an actual doctor, it was 200 miles away in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Which was usually accomplished by flying someone in an awful damn hurry.
Yeah.
Dad was EMS in Tok.
Yeah.
And Dad and the squad covered an area of land the size of New Hampshire and Vermont put together, about 2,500 square miles with a population of around 1,300 people.
Yeah.
So you see some stuff. I mean, there was some pretty nasty stuff that happened and not a lot they could do about some of it. We had one young man that was on either a four-wheeler or a three-wheeler. He hit the accelerator and went straight into the bonfire.
Yeah.
His dad pulled him out. My dad was one of the responding, and I think Dad may have been on the evac flight with him.
Yeah.
He did not think that little boy was going to survive. He did. He was never, he wasn't right to begin with. He was fetal alcohol syndrome,
Yeah.
which is very common up there. But and talking about bullying, he wound up being homeschooled because he couldn't go back to
He
school.
lost, and he was prey.
Yeah,
And
he
as
would have
scarred
been
up as he
as
was.
scarred up as he was, and he had to wear a mask for a long time to protect his skin. It was so delicate. But yeah, they deal with stuff that would just blow your average ER doc's mind because they don't have any options.
Yeah.
But no, I would, at Electra Memorial, or back when I was making regular hospital rotations, sounds better than it actually was. It's like, it's Ian. We know what he does.
Yeah.
It's like, I walk in, couldn't talk, and they, it's like, we know what he's allergic to, so put him in a room. When that was the place that they stuck me on chicken pox.
Yeah.
And United Regional, what the hell is wrong? I was running some tests. So I got my ass up. I drove to Electra. I walked in, and Dr. Eloise Banyas went, "Holy shit, chickenpox!" Thanks, Doc.
Yeah. Well, I'm old enough, and I can remember doctors making house calls.
Yeah.
And I remember Dr. Campbell coming in when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it had a sore throat for like a week.
Yeah.
Came to the house, took one look, went, "I'll be operating on him tomorrow for tonsillitis."
Yeah. Yeah.
The only good thing about that was I got ice cream for 3 days. Yeah.
I mean, our medical system is all kinds of messed up. It would be nice
Thanks to the government.
Yeah.
Thanks to the government. And that's what I was going to say. It would be nice if the government would let loose a little.
Well,
The most over-regulated, over-legalized, over-stupid government bullshit industry in the United States is medical.
HMOs.
Even beyond that.
HMOs, though, are what has killed.
Well, the HMOs are because of a idiot government law.
Yeah, but they are the ones that have killed most of the regional hospitals.
Yep.
And small rural hospitals.
Yep.
Because,
having to get permission to build another hospital with an X.
Yeah. Well, and the other silent problem that is happening rather rapidly at this point that most people don't talk about is the demise of large animal veterinarians.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Because all of them are old. So veterinary school actually costs more than medical school. And large animal vets do not make very much money. Never have.
Yeah.
I know the ranchers and farmers are having to pay for their services.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to give.
And I mean, if you go back and read the James Herriot stories, which are idealized and romanticized and in a whole different country, but there is a huge resonance of how it actually is in
eggs.
there. Getting paid with eggs and chickens.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and I because I've on X, I've managed to get in with like the farming and ranching community, which is a lot of fun because I get to see pictures of baby cows and baby pigs and all the babies. But listening to them talking about how it's impossible to get a vet, much less one that'll come to the farm, and with some big critters, if you've got a sow that's not giving birth the way she should, you can't load her into a trailer and take her somewhere.
No.
Well, and the small animal vets, which is really annoying the crap out of me, are being bought up by corporations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Two of the vets.
Same thing that happened to doctors.
Yeah. Two of the veterinary clinics in Wichita are owned by multi-state corporations, and the care didn't get any better.
No. And the cost, I mean,
the cost didn't get any better either.
When we lost our dog, we had taken her to the largest veterinary thing in this area, and they wanted hundreds of dollars to diagnose her.
Oh, yeah.
And
no guarantee that they could treat her.
Right. Well, no, that's the thing. They gave her a very cursory physical examination. I took her home, gave her a bath because she was incontinent, and found the abdominal mass. Just giving her a bath. They had not even given her enough of an examination to find that.
Oh yeah,
corporate.
So we went to a little rundown at the Heels place just off base, and they were wonderful and very affordable. And we'll be going back to them because they aren't all the slick bells and whistles, but that's the thing, is because pets are people's fur babies.
Yeah.
So they want a hospital to take them to. All the shiny, all the fancy, all
they
the
get charged
money.
for it.
Yeah,
Yep.
the care's
Yep.
not any better.
It's gotten to the point now where people are carrying pet insurance as much as they are medical insurance,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
Well, when it costs you $5,000 or $6,000
Yep.
to get a basic
Yeah.
anything done to your pet,
Yeah.
it gets bad when you get better treatment for the pet that you can get for yourself,
Well, not only
and it
that,
costs less.
the
Yeah.
sheer amount of marketing.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with both of the corporate owned.
Mm-hmm.
Dagamore, I'm gonna disagree. Horses are not the smartest animal.
Oh my lord, no! I grew up with
God.
horses.
No.
Also,
no.
horses will just die because
Yeah.
it blew
Oh,
wrong.
it's Tuesday. I'm dead.
Yeah.
But I've been
Goats too.
I've been to both. I took Kitty Boo to the other corporate vet.
Yeah.
And we've had Chewy and Mochi at one, and I took Kitty Boo once. Of course, it was apparently very memorable at the other one. And the amount of spam I get deluged with
Oh,
from
yeah.
both those places is
Mhm.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I took Toast for her spay to the reduced price spay place because I had the time to be able to schedule months in advance because they don't do anything fast. And the amount of spam I get in my inbox from them,
Yeah.
they want me to buy all my pet medications through their
Yeah.
in-house pharmacy. But
Yeah.
it's I mean, in some ways, veterinary medicine is what human medicine would be if we didn't have all the regulations in place.
Horses are smarter than sheep, but that doesn't say a whole
It
lot.
depends on the
That's a
sheep.
low bar.
We used to keep Shetland sheep. Shetland sheep are on par with goats.
That's because they're from the Shetland Islands.
Yes,
But sheep
because
that-
they've had to survive.
Sheep as a whole are bred to be dumb, and boy, did we overachieve.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg, that's a good point. There was a problem in Canada where you could get an MRI for your pet in a day or two, but it took almost a year for people.
Yep.
So they fixed it by banning pets from being allowed to come in for an MRI.
Canada.
Yeah, but anytime you have a free system, there's going to be something wrong with it.
And as the man said, ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anytime somebody says something is free,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, and even after that was done, it was still 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine who's a retired Canadian Forces aviator,
Yeah.
his mother was in her late 70s, and this was a few years ago. Needed a hip replacement. It was a year for her to get the appointment to see a doctor about getting a hip replacement.
Mm-hmm.
There's a short form video going around.
Yeah.
And this young woman in Canada, she's a cancer survivor. She's had cancer before. She will have cancer again.
Yeah.
Yes.
She knows it.
That's how these things work.
Yeah.
Well, some symptoms popped up. So she needs an MRI for her head.
Yeah.
Scheduled a year out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she thought on the video, she says, I thought it was because it's, it says January of 2026. She thought it was a
Misprint.
misprint and they meant 2025. No, it's positive. She's a cancer survivor, has symptoms, might indicate brain cancer. And she's wait a year for MRI
Yeah. So what she'll do is come down to the States and get it in a
Yep.
week.
or
Yeah.
24 hours.
Pay out of pocket, get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what Toad did was bring his mother down
Mm-hmm.
to Vermont,
Yep.
got her seen, got the hip replacement done, paid cash. It was 30 grand.
Yeah.
And she was home in 2 months.
Yep.
10 months after that, the doctor called and wanted to know why she hadn't shown up for her appointment,
Yeah.
and then tried to charge her, even though she didn't show up. And she goes, no. Right here, my son canceled the appointment a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new hip. Well, you can't have a new hip.
We
I
did-
didn't approve it.
Yeah.
And she basically flipped him off and told him, no, you didn't approve it because you wouldn't bother to see me. I went to the United States and had it done and paid for, and I'm back home and I'm fine. No thanks to you.
Yeah. That's the thing though, is if we can, and I mean, I know that if we deregulate medicine to the level where we can go back to
Yeah.
house calls and doctors not having to have all the malpractice insurance that jacks their prices up to an insane level. If we deregulate medicine to that, we're going to have quacks. We're going to
Yeah.
have snake oil salesmen. We already do. I mean, homeopaths and naturopaths, that's what those are. Snake oil will always be with us, and people will die, but people will get to choose.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now we're in a situation where you don't get to pick and
Yeah.
choose.
Well, like I said, it's
I did not realize that, Negro War. Canadians flock to Scottsdale, Arizona in the winter because they have a Mayo Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
I know they went to Jacksonville, Florida
Yep.
because there's a Mayo Clinic there.
Yep. Well, dictators from countries fly their dictators who are ill into the U.S.
Yeah.
Wasn't this a plot point in some Tom Clancy novel 30
Yeah.
years ago?
Well, it's true.
you're wandering through the wards at MD Anderson down
Yeah.
in Houston. The not from around here accents are thick and
Yeah.
Mhm.
plentiful.
Well, and because Blakely left South Africa and came to MD Anderson back before it was MD Anderson.
A couple of years ago, there was a case where the parents wanted to bring their little boy to the
Yeah.
U.S. for treatment, and England wouldn't allow him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he died.
There's
And he
been
died,
two
yeah.
cases. There's been two cases that way.
At least
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
have gotten press. I'm sure there's been more.
And that's why England took away their right to keep and bear arms because
Well, that and a whole bunch of other stuff recently. Dear Lord.
no kidding.
I mean, I'm reading these Agatha Christie's and thinking this is a lost country. This is a country that no longer exists.
Mhm.
Reading these books and looking at England of not even 100 years ago
Yeah.
is totally unrecognizable.
Yeah. Hell, the England I remember from the 70s isn't there
Mhm.
anymore.
I went to Great Britain. We did England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. My aunt lives in Wales. And that was about 30 years ago. And I saw some places I would really love to go back and see, but I
Yeah.
don't feel safe traveling to England.
When I
Well, we've gotten off on a bad set of topics here. So
Yeah, so do we have cheerful things?
you've got a book out.
I've got a book out.
Ben's got a book out.
Oh, yes, Mike will be on Mirthquake with
Mirthquake with Dennis
with-
Badgerino.
David Badgerina.
David.
I keep doing that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because
David.
we know Dennis.
Yeah, we know Dennis, his brother.
And is that his brother?
Yes.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dennis is the older brother of David.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, the last name's not that common. But
Yeah.
David Badgerina does Mirthquake, which
Yeah.
is a podcast, and he'll have Mike Burke, and that should be
It's-
a riot.
Podcast / live stream. They
Yeah.
will be live, and you can comment, and you should. 7 or 8.
It's 8 Eastern.
8 Eastern, 7 Central.
7
8
Central Time.
Eastern, 7 Central.
I feel like a TV announcer.
Yeah.
So go listen. It's good. And on that note, folks, remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. We'll see you Thursday.
We will.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
That is if we don't blow away in the meantime.
No kidding, right?